there was no nuclear weapons program. Officially, Israel doesn't even have nuclear weapons. We know that it's got maybe 200 or 300 or something like that. Britain and the other Western countries have been pathetic here. The assassination of Ali Khamenei, it was the supreme war crime. Trump and Netanyahu were guilty of a gross international crime. Iran was open to discussing all of these things, but then if you just bomb them and assassinate their leader and slaughter, well over 100 children in a girls' school, this is barbarism. More than 10 years ago now, I wrote a book, Why the West is Wrong About Nuclear Iran. Why did I know the West was wrong? Because I actually read the intelligence reports filed to the US Congress and the US President. I mean, many of these are public. That's quite clear that there was no nuclear weapons program. What you did find is the papers talking about a nuclear program, which of course Iran is perfectly entitled to have under international law. The other thing is that Iran was absolutely obeyed the instructions of the International Atomic Energy Authority, which, for instance, Israel doesn't. I mean, officially Israel doesn't even have nuclear weapons. We know that it's got maybe 200 or 300 or something like that. And so I just looked at the facts, and you could then look at these endless false statements from Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, saying that Iran is 2 months away or something from a nuclear weapon.
From there, it's only a few months, possibly a few weeks, before they get enough enriched uranium for the first bomb.
And the really serious Western papers, including respectable papers like The Economist, which is false, just report nonsense about what is going on. And so on that basis, I then advocated, I'm quite proud of it, that there should be a deal. You can bring Iran into the international system, and that it duly did happen. The JCPOA deal, which was negotiated by Obama and was then got rid of by Trump, with disastrous consequences for the United States, which now they're trying to return to a version of the JCPOA deal, which is far less beneficial to the United States. Again, Britain and the other Western countries have been pathetic here. This decision to pillory and outlaw Iran. And by the way, we have to understand that the assassination of Ali Khamenei and several of his colleagues, I mean, that was utterly illegal. What that represented was, what is called at the Nuremberg trial after World War II as the supreme criminal act. It was the supreme war crime, which is an act of unprovoked aggression. You are allowed under international law, if you have the assent of the United Nations, and you, or if you've been provoked by, with imminent threat of invasion, there are circumstances where you can legally invade another country. Neither of those cases applied in the case of Iran. It was an illegal. Israel and the United States, Trump and Netanyahu were guilty of a gross international crime.
Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime.
Ali Khamenei, he was represented as a barbarous, sort of ignorant threat to humanity by the Western media and by Western politicians. In fact, he was a very civilized. He'd read. He talks about books he'd read. He'd consumed Western literature. Now, there are many problems with the Iranian state. It has committed attacks on its own citizens. It also applies, by the way, to Western allies who we don't invade them in consequence of that. These matters could have been and should have been, and I think Iran was open to discussing all of these things, but then if you just bomb them and assassinate their leader and slaughter, is it 100, how many, well over 100 children in a girls' school. This is barbarism. It's illegal, and of course it's desperately counterproductive. It threatens the world economy, and it should be condemned, the actions of the United States and Israel.